Winston Churchill, the famous English Prime Minister, once said, "Democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others that have been tried." What he meant by that is that even though it is far from perfect, democracy is still the best type of government there is. The same thing can be said about America's form of democracy. It's not perfect, but it's still better than anything else. On the federal level, there are three branches of government. The executive branch is led by the president, which also includes the vice president and all the many cabinet agencies. Everything from the State Department to the Defense Department to the Treasury Department. Most of the people who are the head of these agencies are called secretaries, and along with the vice president, they make up the president's cabinet. There are many other agencies that are part of the federal government as well, including the FBI and the CIA. The president's main duty is to enforce the laws that are written by Congress and also to act as a commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The president needs a cabinet simply because there's no way he could make informed, logical decisions best fit for our country by himself. The secretaries all have their areas of expertise, and what they do is inform the president of what they know and how they think he should go about making these decisions. I think this is a logical and successful system because this way the president is getting information about different issues from people who are experts about it, and he doesn't have to rely completely on his own knowledge. The legislative branch includes the House of Representatives and the Senate. There are 435 members of the House and 100 senators. Each state elects 2 senators, while House members are elected by congressional districts that are divided in each state according to population. The main job of the legislative branch is to enact laws. All of the senators and representatives serve on committees, which is where most of the laws are written. Each committee is in charge of a specific area, like education or budget. The reason things are divided this way is because the Constitution says that each state is entitled to 2 senators and at least 1 representative, no matter what their population is. The larger states have a lot more House members. Their power is equal in many ways, because in order for a bill to become a law, it has to pass both the House and the Senate, but they also have different responsibilities. For example, the Senate has the power to confirm cabinet members and federal judges, while the House has the power to impeach the president or judges. This is a good system because with the Senate, the states all have equal powers, and with the House, the power is split up by population. The judicial branch consists of the Supreme Court as well as lower courts, like the District Court and the Appeals Court. There are 9 justices who serve on the Supreme Court. They are appointed by the President and they serve for life, unless they decide to resign. The judicial branch job is to interpret and apply the law, and to decide whether or not laws passed by Congress in the states are constitutional. The judicial system works well because in order for a law to be overturned or ruled unconstitutional, it has to go through several layers of the court system. By the time it gets to Supreme Court, several other lower courts have offered their opinions. This gives the Supreme Court justice more information before they rule on a case. Each of the 3 branches of government has power over the other branches, which is called checks and balances. The executive branch has power over the legislative branch because the president can veto laws that Congress passes. The executive branch has power over the judicial branch because the president gets to appoint judges and justices to fill vacancies on the courts. The legislative branch has power over the executive branch because 2/3 majority of Congress can override a president's veto. Congress can also vote to impeach the president. The legislative branch has power over the judicial branch because the Senate has to approve all appointments to the courts, and Congress can also impeach judges. The judicial branch has power over the executive and legislative branches because the Supreme Court can declare laws passed by Congress and signed by the President to be unconstitutional. So, the question is, does this system of checks and balances work? For the most part, yes, but there are still some problems that can occur. For instance, the legislative branch isn't supposed to be the branch to pass laws, but sometimes that's more or less what they do. The Supreme Court is supposed to decide cases based only on the Constitution, not personal opinion. But unfortunately, they sometimes let politics get in the way. For instance, the Supreme Court will soon be deciding on whether or not gay marriage should be legal. It's pretty likely that when they vote on the case, they won't just be looking at the Constitution. They'll be looking at politics and their own personal views. That's not the way it's supposed to work. Also, it's supposed to be the job of Congress to declare war, but there are times when the president will decide to take military action on his own. In cases like that, the system of checks and balances clearly doesn't work. When we go to the polls to elect people, we aren't just voting for the president, senators, and representatives. We're also voting for dozens of people for local and state offices. In Michigan, people all live in either a city, a village, or a township. We elect the people to serve on those boards and councils, and it's their job to handle local issues like road repairs, trash pickup, and police protection. We also elect county commissioners, who handle things like running the county jail and airport and the countrywide bus system. We also elect school board members, judges, and many other local officials. Our state government is set up very much like our federal government, with 3 branches of government. Our executive branch is headed by a governor instead of a president. We also have a legislative branch that features a House and a Senate, and a judicial branch led by the Michigan Supreme Court. The U.S. Constitution gives a lot of power to the states, so the state government handles a lot of things. Along with other things, the state runs the prison system and the public school system. They handle all the elections and decide laws on everything from health care to insurance. This distribution of governmental powers works well because each local area of country has its own values and needs, and local officials are in best position to represent the citizens on that level. The values and needs of Brighton are different from the values and needs of New York City, so local control is important. In the same way, each state has different needs and values, so each state should be able to decide its own policies. For instance, Texas has the death penalty, while Michigan doesn't. Each state should be able to set its own laws on things like that. It's certainly not a perfect system, but it works pretty well to divide up responsibilities along local, state, and federal officials. The federal government couldn't possibly decide every issue in every city and state across the country. It works well to divide the power. There are times when things don't go perfectly according to plan, but when you look at everything that Winston Churchill said is true, our democracy might not be perfect, but it's still the best system there is.